If you're ready to escape America and leave behind the insanely high cost of living and the constant stress, this video is for you. Because in this video, I'm going to reveal 5 different African countries where a single person can live for $1,000 or less per month. And of course, I'm a huge supporter of the nuclear family. So every single one of these destinations is also family friendly. And no one wants to give up their quality of life just to save money, right? Like, I don't care if my rent is 20 bucks if I have rats as roommates. And so all these places will also be not only affordable, but also countries where you would want to live. With that being said, let's get into the first country on this list, Tunisia. Tunisia is a North African country sandwiched in between Algeria and Libya. This country is predominantly Muslim. You can even tell that based off of the look of the flag. Now, a lot of people who are watching this video, however, are whether they identify with it or not, instilled with Christian values. And so the idea of moving to a country that is predominantly Muslim or, in a different religion than what we're used to might be quite intimidating. Now, as someone who lives currently and has traveled to a lot of other predominantly Muslim countries, namely Egypt, Turkey, and to a lesser extent Tanzania, here's what I can say. I have always felt extremely safe in Muslim countries. And I think it's because the religion is heavily interweaved within the culture and the society. I like to say that we in America know what the Bible says. In these type of countries, they do it. And so that makes a really big difference. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the cost of living. A single person can live in the country of Tunisia for $404 per month. Now, that's not including rent, okay? So almost at the other number, but that's not including rent. Because rent can be as high as $190 per month if you want to live in the city center, like the downtown. And it can be as low as $140 per month, right? If you want to live more in the outskirts of town, more like the suburbs. But all in all, if you include rent, a single person can live in the country of Tunisia for around $650 per month. Now, why would you go to a country like this? Well, a lot of people travel to this country because it has a rich and storied history. If you're a fan of like Rome and its whole history, then you know that this country is home to Hannibal, right? Which was the commander of the resistance to the Roman army that put up quite a big and large fight that caused the Romans a lot of life, a lot of money, and a lot of headache. All right, and so yeah, his fortress is there. Also, they have really amazing food, right? One thing that they have is their own version of like a Turkish börek, but instead of it being baked, it's fried, and then they fill it with a number of toppings. One of such toppings that's the most popular is like almost like a deep fried tuna sandwich. Right? And so they have a lot of good food that people want to try as well, along with beaches, right? And just tourist destinations, such as these different mountains and different things like that. Now, Uganda is actually a country I have not yet visited, but it is on my list of places I think will be really fun to go to. With that being said, Uganda is actually an East African country and is located just to the left of Kenya. This country is actually 84% identify as Christian, so maybe that makes you a little bit more comfortable with this country here. And a lot of people, if you're looking for, let's call it the authentic African experience, which really is just code for you're surrounded by people who have the same skin tone or who look more like you, Uganda would definitely deliver on that. A single person can expect to spend $524 per month living in Uganda. That's not including rent. The price of rent is far more fluctuated than it was in our previous country because Uganda has like cities, right? You got places like Kampala, but then you also have like outskirts, which is like really outskirts, which I wouldn't recommend living in. But like if you want to live in the city, you might be spending like $235 a month for rent. But if you want to live, like outside the city on the outskirts, you might spend $145 per month for rent. Right? And so there's a pretty big difference. But all in all, like if you have a budget of around $700 to $800 as a single person, you can live in Uganda. What are some things that you can do in Uganda to have fun? See, Uganda being an East African country, you can find even the most basic things quite fun, especially if you're like me and you're coming from the West. right? Like just going out to the markets and learning how to negotiate with the locals and speaking some of their local language, taking in different local forms of transport. I know, like taking the bajajis and taking the bodas and taking the bodas, right? So there's the motorcycles and then there's the buses, and there's just so many different aspects of African society that are so different that even those small, simple grocery runs are quite fun, right? And then on the other side of things, of course, you have, the wildlife, which is a very big tourist destination. You have the safaris that you can go on to see the different wildlife and animals that are native to the country, and seeing them even in their natural habitat, right? And so this country is going to be so much more vibrant when it comes to a nightlife scene than a country like Tunisia, right? Like you're going to be able to have a lot more bars, a lot more clubs, a lot more different things like that. If you're someone who's of that age and who's of that crowd, who wants to party and wants to have an overnight life, you'll definitely find that more in the bigger cities in Uganda than you would in the country that was previously on this list, Tunisia. Okay. With that being said, let's move on to country number 3. All right. For this one, we're going to actually pop back up to North Africa, and we're going to stop being at the country where I'm recording this video from right now, and that is Egypt. By far, this is my personal favorite country on this list to live in, because clearly I've been living here for a few years, and like just to give you a perspective, rent is 92% lower than it is in America. 92%. I have a fully furnished 1-bedroom apartment in the city center, meaning all the action is around me, walking distance, and I pay $190 a month. Now, I don't want to oversell it, right? Because I'm not here I don't get paid by any country to tell you to come to one or go to another. Realistically, a single person can live here for around $600 a month. I would say, this is just me personally, to live here comfortably, I would recommend like $800 a month minimum to live here comfortably, right? And as far as like what is there to do, like you may not have even ever heard of the first country on this list, Tunisia, but you know about Egypt. Everyone knows about Egypt. You got the pyramids, you have the Sphinx, right? You have the Nile River, right? Baby Moses. You have all those stories that are tied to and attached to Egypt. But then there's so much more, like excursions and things to do. Like if you're someone who likes going on adventures and excursions, you never run out of things to see or to do or to learn living in Egypt. Almost every major empire on the face of the planet, from the beginning of history to now, has had some roots in this country. Whether it's the Greeks, the Persians, the Romans, there's so many empires that have touched and been a part of Egypt and its history that you never run out of things to see and do, right? Now, with that being said, I kind of hyped this country up a little bit, so let me bring it down to earth and talk about some of the cons, right, to kind of make it level with all the other countries on this list. Con number 1 is that this is not a food paradise. And if you're Egyptian watching this, don't get mad. The Egyptian food is okay, but like I sometimes will legit travel out of the country just to get some new food in, right? And so it's not a place that I would say like you gotta come and eat this food here. It's good food, it's decent food. There's a variety of mixtures, but like it's not a food paradise, right? And then con number 2 is that it is a desert, and so that means it's hot. That means it's dry. That means like you like it's no humidity in the air. It's like you really gotta moisturize your hair and like moisturize your skin a lot because it'll take like all the moisture out of you. And so depending on the weather that you're used to in your country, not even in your country, like within your country, right? It can be your city, your state, depending on the weather you're used to. Like the fact that this is a desert might be a really big turnoff for you, right? So that's the country of Egypt. Now let's move on to another country that I've also lived in, which is country number, I think we're number 4 on this list, which is Tanzania. Now, after living in the country for some time, a lot of the locals told me to pronounce the name of it as Tanzania. However, most Americans will call it Tanzania, right? Now, with that being said, let's talk about the country of Tanzania, right? It's another East African country, so you're going to get more of that real African experience that so many of you are searching for. And what I can say is that, till this day, Tanzania is the most naturally beautiful country I have ever stepped foot in, right? The land is just so blessed. Like I can take my shoe off, plant it in the ground, and something is going to grow. All right, and so beautiful land, blessed land, incredible, incredible food too. Like I talked about food, maybe not being great. Incredible food in Tanzania. All right. Now, with that being said, like, what is the cost of living? The cost of living for a single person without rent is around $455 per month. Like, if you want to live in the city center, you might be looking at like $300 a month. If you want to live outside of the city center, you might be looking more like $200 a month. But there's an asterisk, okay? There's an asterisk that may apply to other countries too, but in particular Tanzania, right? And this asterisk is rent is not paid month to month. Rent is paid around like 6 months up to even 12 months in advance, right? So if you're going to pay your rent and you're looking at a spot that's $200 a month, don't just budget $200 every month. Budget $200 a month times 12, paid all in one day, right? On top of that, you normally have a dalali, which is your version of a real estate agent, who you're going to pay 1 month's commission to as well. So if you're doing it for a year lease, you're going to be paying 13 months up front. If you're doing it for a 6-month lease, you're going to be paying 7 months up front, because the dalali normally get a 1 month rent commission as well, paid by you. What can you do in Tanzania? It's pretty much limitless. Like I said, it's just a beautiful country. You just want to go around and see things. You want to go around and eat the fruit from the trees. You want to go around and interact and mingle with the locals. There's unlimited things to do in the country of Tanzania, right? For fun. Okay. Now, with that being said, you can go to do like Ferraris. Not Ferraris. Safaris. All right, you can go on, safaris and see the wild animals. You can go to Zanzibar, which is an island that is attached, and a lot of celebrities go there. It's a very beautiful island. You can go there and hang out. You're going to want to experience that, right? And so there's almost unlimited fun that you can have over in the country of Tanzania. It's a lot like it will be in, I would imagine, in Uganda. Now, I told you I was going to give you 5 countries, and here's the 5th one. I think you guys are going to like this one a lot, all right? Now, the 5th country on this list is Morocco. Now, Morocco is known for the beautiful and colorful architecture that everyone wants to get a photo in front of for their Instagram. It's also said to have been inhabited for over 2 million years. That's what they say. Well, I wasn't alive 2 million years ago, so I don't know if we can say that it's really been around that long, but it's been inhabited for what they say is 2 million years, so they have a lot of old artifacts and historical things. One of those things that a lot of people like to visit is they have the oldest functioning university in the entire world that's located there in Morocco. So that's another thing, right? So like if you're a history buff, you will like it. Another thing that they have there that surprised me when I was doing research for this video is they have ski resorts. Yeah, ski resorts. Who would have thought a desert in North Africa has ski resorts? But they do. So there's this whole mountain trail called the Atlas, which is a tourist destination on its own, right? They have like all kind of like local housing that are like hostels where you can stay with like local people and get the tea and drink the tea and eat the different breads, and you can kind of like live like a mountain dweller life. And they also have very expensive resorts in these mountains as well, and they also have ski resorts because during a certain season it actually snows there. And it drives in a lot of tourists who want to ski in a very exotic destination such as Morocco. And so yeah, that was pretty interesting. So a lot of different things you can do in that country. But what matters and why you're watching this video is, what is the cost of living, right? Like, what does it cost to actually live in a country like Morocco, which I think is a very good country to live in, right? Honestly, I think it is. And so just from our research. Now, what does it cost to live in a country like Morocco? Let me tell you. A single person can live in Morocco for $429 per month. All right. Now that is, of course, without rent. When it comes to rent, you might be looking at $300 a month if you want to live in a major city, or around $180 a month if you want to live on the outskirts of the city. Now, in a land like Morocco, similar to Uganda and Tanzania, you're going to want to live in the city center because of how developed it is versus how undeveloped the outside of that region is going to be, right? Like when you have a country like Morocco who has a high-speed train, rail, and has all these different connectivity points, living inside the city is going to provide you a lot of access, a lot of ability to do certain things that you're going to want to take advantage of. And so in this case, even though it's like almost double the amount of money, like from 180 to 300, I would definitely recommend choosing that 300 to live in the city center, right? Now, when you add rent into the equation, what are we looking like for a real cost of living? Altogether, to live a comfortable life in Morocco, you're going to be looking at $800 per month. Those are 5 different African countries that you can live within for $1,000 or less per month, right? Now, one thing I didn't mention too much in this video is that, like, the cost of living in a country is great and that's super important, but what matters even more than that, this is one of the reasons why I no longer live in Tanzania, or Tanzania, as I call it, is the visa, right? Like, most people who are watching this video may have never traveled outside of America before. A visa is super crucial, okay? And I talk about visas and I talk about banking outside of America and how to get phone service outside of America and everything else like that inside of my ultimate African relocation guide, which you can pick up in the link in this description. And if you enjoyed today's video, definitely leave a like on it and share it with a friend, right? There is a life outside of America, and I want to promote that, and I want to show people that is the case. See you guys in the next one. Yah willing. Shalom.